الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا غريب مظلوم كربلاء ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمنا من لجأ إليكم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد. The 25th of Muharram marks the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein, Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam, the fourth Imam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who witnessed the most difficult tragedy that anyone could witness. Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam, he survived the day of Ashura, and he is one of those who witnessed, an eyewitness of the events that took place on the day of Ashura. He watched his father be murdered, and his brothers, and his family members, and his father's companions. And that was not enough. After all of that happened, the family of Imam al-Hussein, the women and the children, along with Imam Zain al-Abideen, were taken as prisoners, as captives of war. They were taken from city to city, which is equal to around 4 countries today. In Iraq, they went up north to Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, and back to Damascus. What is equivalent of 4 countries today? The family of Rasulullah were paraded through the cities. And that was not enough. The year after Imam al-Hussein was killed, Yazid sacked the city of Medina. He came and he brought his army to attack the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because after the event of Ashura, those inhabitants of Medina, they rebelled. What kind of a person kills the grandson of the Prophet and does what he did to the family of Imam al-Hussein? So they rebelled. So he sends an army, and he gives the army the green light to do whatever they want in the city of the Prophet for 3 days. For 3 days, they were abusing and assaulting and doing whatever an army does. For 3 days, the city of the Prophet was halal for them. This is called waqa'at al-harra. And many of the companions of the Prophet, those who saw and heard from the Prophet, they were killed in this event. It is said that Yazid, after that event, he forced the people of Medina to give him bay'ah. He forced the people of Medina to give him an oath of allegiance. But he wasn't just happy with an oath of allegiance. An oath of allegiance, that wouldn't bring him satisfaction. He made the citizens of Medina, the city of the Prophet, sign a declaration that they are all slaves of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. He wanted to enslave everyone. This was the second year. And in the third year that Yazid ruled, and Yazid only ruled for 3 years. In the third year, he attacked Mecca, the sacred house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He sent an army which catapulted the Kaaba, and they destroyed the Kaaba. They threw fire. He catapulted the Kaaba, and the Kaaba was destroyed in that event. Now, you come and you see the role of Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam. What is a man like Imam Zain Alabideen supposed to do? The Imam has a duty to guide. The Imam has a duty to teach. The Imam has a duty to show people the way, guidance. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. The Imam has to guide. How can an Imam guide in this type of atmosphere? His father, who was the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he spoke against Yazid, and his father was massacred and killed in the land of Karbala. So what is Imam Zain Alabideen, who's further from the Prophet? Imam al-Hussein is closer to Rasulullah than Imam Zain Alabideen. What is Imam Zain Alabideen supposed to do? How is he supposed to carry out his role in guiding people and teaching people and showing people the way? This is one. And second, how is a person supposed to survive that type of trauma? Today, there's something they call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. They had one incident, one problem in their life, and you see that it has an impact on their life for the rest of their life. PTSD, and some people, they have to take medication for it. Some people, they can't sleep at night because of one event, one traumatic event that took place in their life. Now, imagine what Imam Zain Alabideen went through, what he saw, what the children of the Ahlul Bayt saw and witnessed. How could someone survive that event? Not only physically survive that event, not be killed. That was a miracle in itself. And that was a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where even the 6-month-old baby of Imam al-Hussein was killed, but Imam Zain al-Abideen remained alive. Is this not a miracle by itself? This is a mu'jizah. This is a miracle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved the life of Imam Zain al-Abideen so that the lineage and the progeny of Rasulullah continues. The progeny of Imam al-Hussein continues, and it continues through Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam. He was in his 20s on the day of Ashura. However, he was ill. He was too frail. When his father, Imam al-Hussein, called for help, Imam Zain al-Abideen, he carries a sword in one hand, and he has a cane in the other hand. He's leaning on a cane. And then Imam al-Hussein, he comes and he tells his sister, Sayyidah Zainab, he tells her, hold him. If he is killed, then the lineage of Al-Muhammad will be severed. That's it. So it was the duty of Sayyidah Zainab to protect the life of Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam. And it was the miracle, a miraculous element is what protected the life of Imam Zain al-Abideen. This is one. But how can someone survive this trauma? We learn from Imam Zain al-Abideen the essence of spirituality. We learn from Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam how that in your darkest moments, when you are suffering, when you see the whole world has turned against you, that Allah is always there with you. And Allah says in the Quran, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. It is through the remembrance of Allah that the hearts will find peace, that the hearts will be at comfort. And Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam, he's a perfect example. He's a perfect role model for those who are suffering for those who are going through difficulties and stress and depression and anxiety in their life, look at Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam. He survived the trauma that he witnessed. He survived all of the difficulties because he was connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are connected with Allah, you will be able to better deal with the challenges that life throws in your way. When you have faith, faith will help you go up the hill. Faith will help you start a new day. Faith will help you survive the difficulties and the challenges. Society teaches us to turn to people, turn this person and that person and knock on this person's door. But Allah says, don't go to this person and that person, come to me. You come to me and I will bring comfort and peace to your heart. You could be suffering, but if your heart is at peace, then you're going to be calm. This is what Imam Zain Alabideen was doing. Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam, his connection and his bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him overcome the difficulties and tragedies that he faced. And this is why he says in his du'as, this is why he became the Imam that we turn to when we want to look at the du'as of the Ahlul Bayt. He is Sayyid al-Sajideen. He is the master of the prostrators. He is Zain Alabideen, the adornment of the worshippers. And this was a title that was given to him by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Rasulullah, he says, on the day of judgment, a caller will call out, Ayna Zain Alabideen? Where is the adornment of the worshippers, the adornment of the believers? And then he says, it is as if I see my grandson Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, who will be walking to paradise. And Allah calls him, and he is going to be called Ayna Zain Alabideen. How did he become Zain Alabideen? Imam Ali ibn al-Husayn became Zain Alabideen not after the event of Ashura. Some of us, after we go through a trauma, after we're tested, after we go through difficulty, then we come and we start asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how our relationship is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many times it's a selfish relationship. It's a relationship, a one-sided relationship, where we only turn to God when we are in need. The Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they teach us to turn to God at all times. And therefore Allah will be there for you. This is why Imam Zain Alabideen, in one of the beautiful du'as, Dua Abu Hamza al-Thumali, he says, Ilahi, O my Lord, بِذِكْرِكَ عَاشَ قَلْبِي وَبِمُنَاجَاتِكَ بَرَّدْتُ أَلَمَ الْخَوْفِ عَنِّي. He says, O Allah, through your remembrance, my heart thrives. وَبِمُنَاجَاتِكَ, and through the dialogue with you, I have cooled down and eased the pain in my heart. When you talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're connected with the source. You're connected with the keys to happiness. We want happiness in life. We seek it from people. We seek it through money. We seek it through material. The Imams, they teach us, turn to Allah. He's the source of the happiness. You're going to feel that feeling when you're connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why you see Imam Zain Alabideen turn to faith. When you turn to faith, Allah will not let you down when others let you down. In a beautiful statement, he says, لَوْ مَاتَ جَمِيعُ مَنْ فِي الْعَالَمِ. He says, if everyone on earth dies, وَمَعِيَ الْقُرْآنِ لَمَا اسْتَوْحَشْتُ, and I have the Quran with me, the book of Allah, I will not feel lonely. I will not feel that I'm all alone because I have the Quran. When I have the Quran, that means Allah is speaking to me. When Allah is speaking to me, the words of God are in my heart. I will be at comfort. I will be at ease. But that is if I nourish that relationship. That is if I invest in that relationship. Some people, they say, yeah, I went and I read the Quran and I didn't feel that feeling. Yes, you're not going to feel it. Some people, they say, I went and I prayed and I didn't feel that it changed my life. I read a dua and I didn't feel that it did anything. Yes. Anyone could pray. The enemies of Imam al-Husayn on the day of Ashura, they also prayed. The man who killed Amir al-Mu'mineen also used to pray. And he was one of those who used to recite the Quran in a very good way. And in fact, they say he used to teach the Quran. Now, there's a difference. You have to nourish that faith in your heart. You have to teach yourself to feel that sense of attachment. You have to let that grow. And this is why you start as a child. You start with your children to teach them to recite the Quran, to teach them the importance of prayer, to teach them the values of prayer. You nourish that love. One of the narrators, he says, I saw a young man, a young child who was around the age of 7, Suba'i. I believe it is Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. He says, I saw a person, a young child who was around 7 years old. The caravans were going towards Hajj from Medina to Mecca, and this young child is walking alone. The caravans are on the road, he's off the road, and he's walking by himself. At that time, if you're traveling, the journey to Hajj would take at least 14 days, at least 10 days. People, they would take their luggage, they would take whatever they need for at least a month or longer. He says, I saw this young child walking on his own. So I go to him and I tell him, who are you? You're walking alone towards the direction of Mecca, towards the direction of the Hujjaj. Who are you? Ayna zaduk? Ayna rahilatuk? Ayna maqsaduk? Where's your food? Where's your bags? What do you have that keeps you going? Where's your caravan? What are you using as a vehicle to take you there? And where's your final destination? He says, he looked at me. He tells me, Zadi taqwai, wa rahilati rajlai, wa maqsadi mawlai. He tells me, my fuel that keeps me going is my taqwa, my piety. And my vehicle that takes me are my feet. And my final destination is my Mawla, my master. He says, I realized he's going to Hajj. But who? This person, he's a young child. Where do you see someone like this? So he says, I asked him, who are you? Where are you from? He tells me, Ana Qurashi, I'm from Quraysh. I tell him, tell me more. He says, Ana Makki, I'm from Mecca. He says, tell me more. He says, I am Hashimi, I'm from the clan of Hashim. I tell him, tell me more. He says, Ana Alawi, I am from the children of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then I realized he doesn't want to talk anymore. He doesn't want to tell me who he is. So I left him. He says, a few weeks later in the Hajj, I see this young child. He is speaking and there's hundreds of people learning from him. And he's educating them. I ask, who is this person? They tell me, هذا علي ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is Ali ibn al-Husayn. This is Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam. He nourishes that love and that attachment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a young age. Today, some people, they say, oh, no, I'm not going to teach my children to pray now. I'm not going to teach them about Islam. I'm not going to, let them figure it out once they're older. They say, I don't want to force it on them. First of all, you're not forcing it on them when you're teaching them. Just as you teach them the importance of school, the importance of life and surviving in life, you have to discipline and nourish that love and that foundation in them at a young age. Some parents, they say, no, when my kids are young, I'm not going to do anything. Once they're older, then I'm going to worry about it. That's a wrong mentality. You have to start at a young age. And that is how the faith is nourished. That is how the foundation is set in an individual. And once they have that foundation, that faith, then they will be able to deal with the challenges in life, like Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam. So this is how the Imam survived the difficulties and the challenges that he faced in life. The Imam alayhi salam also played a very important role in society at that time. Of course, he didn't have the freedom to go out and lecture and have a vocal voice in society because, as you know, Bani Umayyah, the Umayyads were in power and they wouldn't allow anyone to have the freedom. And at that time, the religion of Islam was growing in number, in quantity, but not in quality. The way we see how the situation of the Muslims is today. Some Muslims, they get excited. They say, oh, we're going to be the fastest growing, we are the fastest growing religion. And within a few decades, the Muslims are going to be the biggest population. They get excited over numbers. What's the value of numbers if there's no quality? What's the value of numbers when it's just a number that doesn't do anything? During the time of Yazid, during the time of Bani Umayyah, it was the same. Islam had reached all the way to parts of Europe, to Spain. They had conquered all the way to parts of Europe, Spain, and the African continent, all the way to China. It was a Muslim empire at that time. But there was no essence of Islam. There were no values of Islam. The true meaning of Islam was killed the moment they turned against the Ahlul Bayt. The moment they turned against the family of Imam al-Hussein. When Imam al-Hussein was being butchered on the land of Karbala, that was Yazid trying to kill the name of Islam and building his own monarchy. Building his own rule in the name of Bani Umayyah. Yes, Bani Umayyah, they spread their rule. But the essence of Islam was not spread. So, what was happening? They were taking over major parts of the world, and they were bringing in these slaves, and they were bringing in so many non-Muslims. They were coming to Mecca, to Medina, and they see that there's no Islam. They say that during the time of Bani Umayyah, during the time of Marwan, during the time of Imam Zain Alabideen, Bani Umayyah, they started introducing dancers and singers to Medina, the city of the Prophet, the holy city. Now you want to go and do these things in another city, go ahead. But you come and you introduce these, taking away the values, bringing parties and dancing and singing to the city of the Prophet. This is a holy city. They came and they tried to do that. So what does Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam do? The Imam Zain Alabideen, he begins to educate people, not through speaking, although he did speak, but the Imam alayhi salam, his major role was through action. Because your actions speak much louder than your words. You can go and do something so people see you or people hear you and they'll learn a lesson. They'll learn many lessons from it. And this is a lesson for us, my dear brothers and sisters. Today some Muslims, they say, yeah, we live in a society where we can't observe our rules and what Islam expects from us. We can't practice our faith the way we're supposed to, and we should just stay quiet and just go pray in the corner. Don't let anyone see you. Hiding your faith. That's not what the Imam alayhi salam did. The Imam, yes, even though he was living under a brutal dictator, or more than one dictator, because after Yazid others came to power, but the Imam alayhi salam, he was managing to attract thousands of people to his teachings, to his values. And that was through his actions. One of the things that the Imam alayhi salam did was through dua. There was no spirituality in society. So what does the Imam alayhi salam do? He goes and he starts reading dua. Is it wrong to read dua? He goes and he sits in the masjid of the Prophet or next to the companions. Wherever he is showing them acts of worship in an atmosphere. Imagine you go to a party, you go somewhere where people are very far away from God, very far away from values, and there's one person who's praying, one person who's practicing. That one person could potentially have an impact on every single person in the room. They'll probably call it the person who kills the party, but in reality, you're saving yourself. You're saving yourself, and you could potentially save others. This is what Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam did. Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam, he would sit and he would recite the Quran. He would recite du'as that would educate people about the values of Islam, educate people about the religion of Islam. These du'as, the du'as of the Imam, one of the du'as is a du'a by the name of du'a Makarim al-Akhlaq. Du'a Makarim al-Akhlaq it teaches people the importance of akhlaq, the importance of ethics in society. Islam is all about akhlaq. Islam is all about the way we deal with one another, the way we talk with one another. Our transactions, our day-to-day activity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't just look at you for your praying and your hijab and your hajj and your zakat. Allah looks at you for how you speak to people, how you deal with people around you. And He teaches us how to pray for people, how to pray for your neighbor, how to pray for your friend, how to pray for your family, how to always be thinking about people. This is one of the values that Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam came and instilled in society. In one of the du'as, in du'a makarim al-akhlaq, in one portion of the du'a, the Imam alayhi salam says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, wa la tarfa'ni fi an-nasi darajah, illa hatattani inda nafsi mithlah. He says, Oh Allah, I ask you to not elevate my status in the eyes of people, except that you lower me with myself. Because what is the greatest disease that could fall upon a person? The disease of arrogance, the disease of pride. Some people, when they think they're getting famous, when they're getting powerful, when they're getting rich, they start becoming arrogant. They start looking down upon people. The Imam alayhi salam, he says, Oh Allah, I ask you, don't raise me except that you teach me to discipline and lower myself in my own eyes. And these are the signs of a humble person. These are the signs of a person who's humble. People will look at this person as great, but in his own eyes, he is not arrogant. He's not full of pride with people who are around him or her. So this is how the Imam alayhi salam teaches us. The Imam alayhi salam, he teaches people through his words, through his actions, about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mercy of God. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving. He heard one of those ubbad by the name of Al-Hasan al-Basri. He's known, today they all mention his name. Al-Hasan al-Basri, he says, I'm not surprised at the person who goes to hell. I'm surprised if someone makes it to paradise. He says, I would be surprised on the day of judgment if I see these people made it to paradise. I won't be surprised if they go to hell. The Imam alayhi salam, he heard what Al-Hasan al-Basri said, and he said the total opposite. He says, لَيْسَ الْعَجَبْ مِمَّنْ نَجَى كَيْفَ نَجَى وَأَمَّا الْعَجَبْ مِمَّنْ هَلَكْ كَيْفَ هَلَكْ مَعَ سَعَةِ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. He says, I'm not surprised at the one who passes the test. I'm surprised at the one who fails the test with the vast mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, there are two perspectives. One person who calls himself a scholar and Muslims follow him, he gives one perspective regarding God, and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they give another perspective. Which perspective gives more hope, gives more faith? The one of Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam. He sees a man holding on to the Kaaba and crying and crying. And he says, Ilahi ighfirli, oh Allah, forgive me, and I know you will not forgive me. The Imam tells him, how could you say that? How could you say that Allah will not forgive you? This is in fact itself a great sin. The man, he says, I've committed such a big crime, such a big sin that I know Allah will not forgive me. He tells him, what did you do? He says, I was one of those who participated in the murder of your father, Abu Abdullah. I participated in the murder of Imam al-Hussein. The Imam alayhi salam, he tells him, your statement that Allah will not forgive you is a greater sin than killing Imam al-Hussein. This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For someone to say Allah will not forgive me, that is a greater sin than participating in the actual act. This is the mercy of Allah. Do we ever turn to the mercy of Allah? Do we ever turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If that is your perspective regarding Allah, then you will be able to survive the challenges in life. Because you know that Allah is Arhamur Rahimeen. You know that Allah is the all forgiving and all compassionate. The Imam alayhi salam, in a society of inequality, where they would favor the rich over the poor and the Arab over the non-Arab, the Imam alayhi salam, Tawus al-Yamani, he sees him in Mecca. Of course, most of those individuals that narrate stories and ahadith regarding the Imam alayhi salam, many of them are not Shia. Some of them, they did not like Imam Ali alayhi salam, but they fell in love with Imam Zain Alabideen. This man, Tawus al-Yamani, he was also known as one of the Ubbad, one of the servants, one of those worshippers. He says, I saw in the middle of the night someone doing tawaf around the Kaaba. It's dark, you can't see. That time, people only do tawaf during the day. It's not like today where there's electricity. So he says, I heard someone crying and doing dua around the Kaaba. إلهي غارت نجوم سماواتك وهجعت عيون أنامك وغلقت الملوك أبوابها وبابك مفتوح للسائلين فأسألك أن ترحمني وتريني وجه جدي رسول الله في عرصات القيامة. He says, oh Allah, the kings have shut their doors. Everyone who's powerful is in charge. They shut their doors, but your doors are open. I ask you to have mercy on me and to show me the face of my grandfather Rasulullah in the darkness of the Qiyamah. He says, who says this? Who's talking like this? He says, I came to him, I sprinkled water on his face because he had fainted. I sprinkled water on his face, he opened his eyes. I see this is Ali ibn al-Husayn Zain Alabideen. I tell him, my master, this is how you're talking? If you talk like this, then what should we say? He says, the Imam, he looked at me and he tells me, Ya hada, da' anka hadith abi wa jaddi, فإن الله خلق الجنة لمن أطاعه ولو كان عبدا حبشيا وخلق النار لمن عصاه ولو كان سيدا قرشيا. He says, don't tell me who my father and my grandfather is, because Allah created the paradise for whoever obeys him and worships him, even if it's a slave from Abyssinia. And he created the hellfire for whoever disobeys him, even if it's a Sayyid from Quraysh. In a society of inequality, the Imam alayhi salam, he teaches you the importance of equality. He teaches you that in the eyes of Allah, we're all the same. Today, some people, I'm Sayyid. Some people, I'm from this community. I'm from this country. I'm from this village. This is not in Islam. And one of the most important reasons why the religion of Islam spread is because Islam teaches us equality. There's no difference between an Arab over a non-Arab, over any culture. Your value is who you are. You could be whatever culture you want. You could be American, you could be European, you could be from the Middle East, you could be Asian, you could be African, wherever you're from. Allah does not look at your skin color. Allah does not look at your language. Allah looks at what's in your heart. And this is what the Imam alayhi salam teaches. Another thing the Imam alayhi salam teaches is the essence of giving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Giving requires faith. It's not easy to always give. One of the narrators by the name of Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. This man, Ibn Shihab, he did not like Imam Ali alayhi salam, but he loves Imam Zain Alabideen. Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, he says, I saw one night, it was a cold, rainy night. Who wants to leave their house? A cold, rainy night. He says, I saw Ali ibn al-Husayn carrying a bag on his back, and he's walking. I look at him, I tell him, oh my master, what are you doing? He says, I'm preparing for my journey. I'm preparing for my trip. I tell him, I have servants. Let my servants carry this for you. You do not need to carry it. You are the grandson of the Prophet. He says, no, this is a journey that only I can carry for my journey. He says, I didn't know what he was talking about. He says, I left him. A few days later, I see Imam Zain Alabideen in Medina again. I thought he had prepared for his journey. I thought he was leaving. So he says, I come to him and I tell him, oh my master, what are you doing? I thought you're out of town. He tells me, oh Ibn Shihab, I was preparing for another journey. Not a journey in this life. I was preparing for my afterlife, my akhirah, my death. So Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, he says, I realized that Zain Alabideen was carrying food, pieces of bread on his shoulders, and he goes to the homeless, and he goes to those who are in need, and he places a loaf of bread under their head. These are our imams, my dear brothers and sisters. This is why we follow these imams. This is why we take them as role models. Are we implementing? Are we following in their tradition? Or do we just hear about these stories? Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam, Imam al-Baqir, he says, and it is narrated not only from Imam al-Baqir and others, that when he was placed on his deathbed, after he died, that he was placed on the mughtasal. They placed his body on the mughtasal to wash the body. Every person who dies, you have to wash their body. The Imam alayhi salam, Imam al-Baqir, he says, I saw signs and bruises on the body of my father Zain al-Abideen. Some of those signs were the bruises from the chains that were placed on his neck and on his body during that journey from Karbala to Sham. And I saw the signs and the marks of the food and the things he used to carry to give the poor people. Every day he carries. All the imams were like this. Imam Ali was like this. They carry the food and they go and they distribute it to the poor. It left a mark on his body. This is the imam of our time. These are our imams. It is said that after the death of Imam Zain Alabideen, those individuals who used to receive aid, they felt that they were alone, that no one was there for them, until Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he started giving them as well. Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam would educate people, and also he would educate people about the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. In a society that was very far from the Ahlul Bayt, in a society that killed the Ahlul Bayt and persecuted the Ahlul Bayt, because Bani Umayyah didn't only kill the Ahlul Bayt, they had propaganda against the Imams. They had speakers that would go up on the minbar and curse Imam Ali, Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein, and Fatima al-Zahra. For over 80 years, Amir al-Mu'mineen and the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen were cursed on the pulpits. They were cursed on the minbar. People didn't know. Some people, you can't blame them. When Imam Zain Alabideen and the family of Imam al-Hussein were taken to Sham, an old man, he stands in front of Imam Zain Alabideen and he says, Alhamdulillah alladhi qatalakum wa fadahakum wa akdhaba uhduthakum. All praise is due to God who ridiculed you and brought you in chains in front of the Amir Yazid ibn Muawiyah. That man, he thought these were outsiders, these were rebels that were rebelling against the religion of Islam, that are fighting the legal establishment, the legal khilafah of the Prophet. The Imam alayhi salam, he tells this man, Ya Shaykh, hal qara'ta al-Quran? Oh man, have you recited the Quran? He tells him, yes. What do you have to do with the Quran? The Imam alayhi salam, he tells him, have you read the verse, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهِ? And give the qurba, the family, the close kin, their rights? He says, yes, I have read that. He tells him, نَحْنُ الْقُرْبَى يَا Shaykh. We are the qurba. We are the kin of the Prophet. He tells him, have you read the verse, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى? He says, yes, I have. The verse of Khums. He says, we are the qurba, O Shaykh. He tells him, have you read the verse, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى? Say, I do not ask anything except love for my close kin. He says, yes, I've read that verse. He tells him, we are the family of the Prophet. He tells him, have you read the verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا? He says, yes, I have. The Imam tells him, we are the family of the Prophet. We are the Ahlul Bayt. That man, he was shocked. He began to cry. He says, by Allah, are you the Ahlul Bayt? He says, yes, we are. Then the man, he begins to curse Yazid. And Yazid finds out, he orders for that man to be killed and his head placed on the door of the castle. Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam, one of his tasks was to tell people who the Ahlul Bayt are. This is why in the courtyard of Yazid, the Imam alayhi salam, he just came and he says who his family is. He says, I'm the son of the Prophet, I'm the son of Imam Ali, and he mentions the merits of Imam Ali, the merits of the Prophet, the merits of Fatima Zahra, and then he says, I'm the son of the one who was killed in Karbala. The whole majlis, thousands of people, they began to cry because of the words of a man who's tied in chains. A young man, he's tied in chains. Because of his words, he managed to change people. And of course, the Imam alayhi salam, he always continued to remind people of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Today, you are gathering and you cry for Imam al-Hussein over 1,000 years after the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein. After the event of Ashura, the first individual who started the sunnah of crying for Imam al-Hussein was Ali ibn al-Hussein Zain Alabideen. He would always cry for his father. They come and they bring food in front of him. He looks at the food and he begins to cry. They tell him, why are you crying? He says, how can I eat when my father, Abu Abdullah, was killed hungry? They bring water in front of him. He looks at the water and he begins to cry. They tell him, why are you crying? He says, how can I drink when my father was butchered thirsty in the land of Karbala? He goes and he looks at the butchers. The butchers, they're about to slaughter the sheep. He tells them, oh butchers, I have a question to ask you. They tell him, what is it, O son of the Prophet? He tells them, before you slaughter these sheep, do you give them water? They say, yes. O son of the Prophet, this is what your grandfather taught us. To be humane, to show respect even to an animal before it is slaughtered. And then he would turn to Karbala and he would say, my father, Abu Abdullah, was butchered thirsty in the land of Karbala. He was not given a single drop of water. And this broke the heart of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This broke the heart of the Ahlul Bayt. Every Imam, they would always remember the fact that Imam al-Hussein was not given a single drop of water before he was butchered. On the day of Ashura, even after he was injured, he fell on the ground. He was dying. He was bleeding to death. He calls them, Ya qawm isquni sharba min al-ma wa haq jaddi ana atsha. He tells them, oh people, give me a drop of water by the life of my grandfather Rasulullah, I'm thirsty. They tell him, you will not drink the water. And the family of Imam al-Hussein did not drink the water. Imam Zain Alabideen, he would continue crying. Abu Hamza al-Thamali, one of the companions, he comes to the Imam and he tells him, oh my master, al-qatlu lakum aadah wa karamatukum min Allah al-shahada. Martyrdom is something usual for you, Ahlul Bayt. Ja'far was killed, Hamza was killed, Ali ibn Abi Talib was killed, Imam al-Hasan was killed. Why do you continue to cry for your father, Imam al-Hussein? Imam Zain Alabideen, he tells him, Ya Aba Hamza, na'am al-qatlu lana aada wa karamatuna min Allah al-shahada walakin ya Aba Hamza hal sabyun nisa'i aada. He tells him, "Oh Abu Hamza, yes, our men were killed, but wouldn't have you seen a woman from the family of Rasulullah taken as a prisoner from city to city?" This is something that has never happened. Every time I look at my aunt Sayyidah Zainab and Sukaina and Kulthum and the women and the children, I remember how the chains were placed around their neck and their hands, and they were paraded from city to city. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Let us raise our hands in dua by the love of Imam Zain Alabideen alayhi salam. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات، إنك مجيب الدعوات، إنك غافر الخطيئات، إنك ماحي السيئات وجاعلها حسنات، إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات.